Daniel had worked overnight security at Crestwood Mall for almost 3 years. The mall was still open during the day, but nearly half the stores were empty. At night, after the final cleaners left, entire sections felt completely abandoned. The oldest part of the building contained a department store that had closed 12 years earlier. Its glass entrance was covered in dust. The sign had been removed and the doors were chained from the inside. Management warned every security guard to stay out. At 1:14 one morning, Daniel saw lights behind the glass. Every ceiling light inside the department store was on. Dozens of mannequins stood in rows facing the entrance. Daniel contacted the control room, but the other guard had gone outside to inspect an alarm. When Daniel looked back, one mannequin had moved closer to the glass. It wore a Navy security uniform. Daniel returned to the control room and opened the store's security feed. The camera showed something impossible. The abandoned department store was crowded with shoppers. Men, women, and children moved between the displays wearing clothing from different decades. Cashiers stood behind registers that had not worked in years. None of them appeared on the camera outside the store. On that camera, Daniel saw himself standing alone in front of the chained entrance. Then every shopper inside stopped moving. They turned toward the security camera simultaneously. The image disappeared. Daniel returned to the store. The chains were lying on the floor. The doors were open. He entered with his flashlight and radio. The lights switched off behind him. Every mannequin had turned its head toward him. Daniel walked deeper into the store. At the center of the clothing department stood a mannequin wearing an exact copy of his uniform. It had his radio, badge, and flashlight. Its plastic face had been shaped to resemble him. Daniel asked through his radio whether anyone else was inside. A voice answered from the mannequin's radio. It was his own voice. "I'm covering your shift." Daniel backed away. Behind him, several mannequins had left their displays. He ran into an old staff room and locked the door. The walls were covered in employee photographs and security snapshots. Many showed former night guards. The latest photograph showed Daniel sitting inside the control room. A mannequin stood behind his chair. The date beneath it was from the previous evening. A telephone on the desk began ringing. Daniel answered. A woman whispered, "They need someone to open the store." He found an old newspaper clipping inside a desk drawer. 12 years earlier, a fire alarm had activated while hundreds of shoppers were inside. The department store's emergency doors malfunctioned. Several people disappeared during the evacuation. Their bodies were never found. Management closed the store permanently. Something struck the staff room door. Then dozens of hands began knocking from the other side. Daniel escaped through a maintenance passage. When he reached the glass entrance, the mannequin wearing his uniform was waiting there. Dozens of others stood behind it. The duplicate raised Daniel's radio. "Store secured," it said. Daniel forced the entrance doors open and ran back to the control room. The department store was dark again. The chains had returned to the doors. Management reviewed the footage the following morning. It showed Daniel entering the store. Several minutes later, someone who looked exactly like Daniel walked back out. That version returned to the control room and remained there for almost an hour. The real Daniel did not appear again until 2:36. Daniel resigned that day. 2 weeks later, the new night guard called him. He said the abandoned department store had reopened. The lights were on and the mannequins were facing the entrance. Standing behind an old cash register was a mannequin wearing Daniel's uniform. It raised one plastic hand and pointed toward the security camera, behind the guard. Kara cleaned the mall after closing. Near the abandoned food court stood an old photo booth with red curtains. It had been disconnected for years, but was never removed. One night, the booth activated as Kara passed it. A bright flash appeared behind the closed curtain. A strip of photographs emerged from the machine. The first image showed Kara standing beside her cleaning cart. The second showed the same moment, but a tall shadow stood at the end of the corridor. In the third, it was several meters behind her. In the final image, it was leaning over her shoulder. Kara turned around. The corridor was empty. She checked the time printed beneath the photographs. They had been taken 2 minutes in the future. The booth flashed again. A new strip emerged. This time, the photographs showed Kara pulling open the curtain. Inside sat a frightened young boy wearing clothing from the 1990s. 2 minutes later, Kara did exactly what the photographs showed. The boy was waiting inside. He held an old missing person flyer bearing his own face. His name was Leo Carter. He had disappeared from the mall in 1997. Kara asked how he had entered the booth. Leo said his mother had brought him to the mall. They had taken photographs together, but after the final flash, she vanished. He had been waiting for the booth to photograph someone who could see him. The camera flashed again. Leo disappeared. Another strip printed. It showed Kara sitting alone inside the booth. In each image, the red curtain moved farther closed. In the final photograph, the shadowy figure was sitting beside her. Kara refused to enter. She brought the strip to the security room and searched the archives. Old footage showed dozens of shoppers entering the booth over the years. Some returned. Others never exited. The final recording showed Kara approaching the photo booth at 10:42 that evening, but her shift had not begun until 11. In the footage, another version of Kara entered the booth and closed the curtain. The timestamp then changed to the following night. Kara returned to the food court. The red curtain was closed. Someone inside whispered her name. She pulled it open. The booth was empty, but a photograph was lying on the seat. It showed Kara standing outside the booth. Leo was behind her. He pointed toward the ceiling. Kara looked up. The shadowy figure was crawling across the ceiling directly above her. The booth flashed. Every light in the food court went out. Kara ran toward the exit while the camera continued flashing behind her. She reached the parking lot just before sunrise. A fresh photo strip was tucked beneath her van's windshield wiper. The first 3 frames showed Kara standing beside the vehicle. The fourth showed her trapped behind the booth's red curtain. The next morning, management removed the photo booth. When workers opened the rear panel, they found thousands of undeveloped photographs. Many showed missing people. One picture showed Leo standing with his mother. Behind them was Kara. The photograph had been taken in 1997. The booth was destroyed. But every few months, Kara receives an envelope without a return address. Inside is a new strip of photographs. Each one shows the red curtain closing farther around her. Miguel delivered a parcel to one of the mall's restaurants after closing. When he entered the service elevator, a new button appeared beneath the second basement level. It was marked -3. The button illuminated before Miguel touched it. The doors closed. When they reopened, he found an enormous underground parking garage. Miguel had delivered to the mall dozens of times. The building had only 2 underground levels. The forgotten garage was filled with old cars from different decades. Dust covered the roofs and shallow water covered the floor. Miguel stepped out. Every car's headlights switched on simultaneously. The elevator closed behind him. Miguel walked between the vehicles, looking for another exit. Several cars had drivers sitting inside. They were motionless. Their clothing came from different time periods. When Miguel passed them, every driver slowly turned to watch him. His parcel scanner activated. A new delivery appeared on its screen. The destination was level -3. The recipient was Miguel Alvarez. The delivery date was October 12, 1987. Miguel followed the scanner to an old parking control booth. Inside, he found dusty entry records and photographs of every vehicle that had entered the garage. One picture showed his modern delivery van driving through the entrance. The date beneath it was 1987. When Miguel looked outside, his van was parked beside the booth. Someone was sitting behind the wheel. The driver had Miguel's face. The duplicate smiled and held up an identical parcel scanner. Miguel tried the van's passenger door, but it was locked. The radio inside began playing a recording of Miguel making his delivery earlier that night. Then his own voice said, "Delivery completed. Driver remaining on site." The motionless drivers began leaving their cars. All of them walked toward Miguel. He ran back toward the elevator. The garage seemed to stretch farther with every step. Rows of cars continued beyond the walls of the building. His phone rang. The caller identification showed his own number. Miguel answered. The duplicate said, "You can take the elevator. I'll finish your route." The elevator doors opened ahead of him. Miguel entered and pressed the lobby button. As the doors closed, he saw dozens of identical versions of himself standing between the cars. The elevator returned to the normal parking garage. Miguel ran outside. His delivery van was gone. He called his supervisor and reported it stolen. His supervisor told him that the vehicle was already back at the depot. Security footage showed Miguel returning it at 3:12 that morning. The driver looked directly into the camera before leaving. Miguel quit. Several weeks later, he received a traffic fine. The attached photograph showed his van entering the mall's underground garage. The photograph had been taken in 1987. Miguel was driving. A passenger was sitting beside him. The passenger had Miguel's face and held up 3 fingers. That night, the elevator inside Miguel's apartment building opened by itself. The display showed -3. His missing delivery van was parked inside. The duplicate sat behind the wheel. It lowered the window and said, "You forgot your package."